What is up, everybody? This is the Georgia Show. I'm Jake Rowe from DawgsHQ. He's Rusty Mansell, also from DawgsHQ. Got a lot to talk about, man, and we are excited because this is probably going to be our last show, last Georgia show. We still got Bark After Dark coming tomorrow with my man Philip Dukes, but we are last Georgia show before the start of spring camp, Rusty, and really excited to kind of see some football and to kind of get some news on the team, get some content flowing back through DawgsHQ. Dry times, man. It's been a slow couple weeks for us.
We made it. I think that's the biggest thing. I got a new mic, so let me know how things sound here. Finally had to get my man's in Hong Kong, Jason Cancel, Hong Kong. Good morning, Jason. Jason's already started the week. He's already ready to go. But yeah, excited, man. You know, these last couple of weeks, really the last 10 days. And I know the grind that these coaches and players go through. This is probably, I would say, long as nothing crazy breaks, which you don't want it to, but this is really the probably the quietest 10 days of the entire year, because there were no visits, no coaches were, they're out all over the country, players are all over the place, and all that's over with. I think, oh my God, it's, they had that team run this afternoon. Can you imagine coming back from spring break and busting a team run today? And I bet it wasn't easy. So,
I bet that sweat smelled funny.
And players are back in town, buddy. And, things are going good. Thank you, Tomahawk, for the update there on my mic. And, but yeah, man, it's here and we got past that. And I can tell you for DawgsHQ, we have got some stuff coming this week and it starts tomorrow. And look forward to it. Jake, how many years this you've been covering the team?
Well,
not recruiting. When you got one over to
my 9th, I guess, or 10th. This will be my 10th. I think this is my 10th spring practice on the team beat.
Man,
Rick's last year was my first, and this is Kirby's 9th. So
okay, yeah.
So yeah, it'd be 10 years. Pretty crazy. I mean, that means, I guess technically that means that, me and you started working together right about 10 years ago. We had a little 7-month break, so we can't say we worked together for 10 years, but so we or really more than 7 months. It was, I guess it was more like a year, a little over a year break. So we can't say we worked together for 10 years just yet, but it's getting there. And it's funny. I was thinking about spring practice the other day, and Palmer and I were talking about breakout players for spring practice, and we kind of got into a little debate about what does it mean to break out during spring practice. I almost think we get ourselves so jazzed up for spring that we end up thinking, it ends up almost being a little bit of a letdown every year, that you're kind of like, oh, well, dang. But we still end up kind of getting an idea of things to come. And one of the things that I brought up was Julian Humphrey. Like last year, we went into spring practice thinking, all right, Dalen Everett and maybe Nyland Green competing for a starting cornerback spot. Yep. And then all of a sudden, Julian Humphrey, I remember talking to Tyke, exactly. Mm-hmm. I remember talking to you, and I remember being like, hey, man, Julian Humphrey's getting some first-team reps. He goes, yeah, I picked up on some of that too. And we were just like, what's going on?
Yeah,
they're just trying to keep him around. And no, I mean, went into preseason camp, he almost won the job. So I'm just really interested to see who pops out like that this spring, because somebody's going to.
Yeah, and just such, new guys. You got T-Rob, you got James Coley coming back, you got Josh Crawford coming back, you got 2 guys in the secondary, it's not panic time. I wouldn't say I don't want to but you lost a lot of support staff guys with Dale McGee getting a job and some of these other guys getting promoted, and that leaves opportunities for people. But it's interesting, what they bring to the table, because here I can tell you, sometimes playing for a different coach brings out better in a player, somebody that could have been buried, but everybody starts fresh. James Coley, all these wide receivers, Mike Bobo certainly will say, hey, this is who's done this and who's done that. But these guys will start fresh for James Coley. These running backs for Coach Crawford will start. These safeties and corners that have new position coaches, they'll start fresh. So, it's got to be an exciting time. And man, it really, I'm excited, dude. I don't want to get emotional on here tonight, but it's damn go time, man. I'm so excited for football, spring football to be back. And look, it is what it is. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you this, Jake, this is a subject that we need to save, but I'm going to tell you this right now. In the past, probably 2 weeks, I will say people from different teams, everybody's going to say Georgia immediately, not just Georgia. I've had people from multiple places tell me they don't see spring practice happening in the next 3 or 4 years, the way things are going, because you have an extended season. You have all these deals with players and the portal and all that kind of stuff. It might just be a couple of OTAs during the spring, and that's it. And they felt like there was some stuff kind of being discussed around with that. So I don't know if it'd be individual schools choice, if it'd be a conference choice, or if it'd be an NCAA rule, but never know, man. Jake, you're on mute.
Did it again.
So I
changed my name. Changed my name to mute. I've long thought that 5 weeks was a long time, and even though they only go 3 times a week, you got walkthroughs spilled in there and everything like that. You've seen it happen to certain teams in certain years. The injuries pile up a little bit for them. It happened to Georgia last year. Like, where would Georgia be? Here's my thing: where would Georgia be if spring practice last year was maybe 6 practices, 6 padded practices, and a couple of weeks of walkthroughs? Like if it was like a 2-week deal instead of a 5-week deal. Branson Robinson doesn't hurt his foot. Smile Munden probably doesn't hurt his foot. Tyrion Ingham Dawkins probably doesn't get banged up. There's a lot of stuff that you can kind of eliminate there, and not only that, man. There's just a lot of there's a lot of fatigue that kind of comes out of it.
That's yes, 100%.
Just piles up. I mean,
and the lengthening of the season. You add a couple of games. Think about this. Georgia's season ended January the 1st this year, correct? Florida State. Think about this. If Georgia handles business and the ultimate goal is to play all the way to the end, say they get a bye and they play 3 games. Well, their last game would be January the 20th. So you add 3 weeks of practice plus, Jake, another game in there. So think about where Georgia could be with that. I don't want to hijack the night, but we're discussing all this too.
No. This is a good topic. I like this topic.
But you think about why people think that spring practice literally, and you hit it on the head there, 5 weeks. Why this thing could get away. And in high school football, they do 9 practices, and then you get a Friday night scrimmage if you want to use it. So you get 10 practices. The states that do it, like Florida and I think Alabama, I think Florida for sure, you get 3 weeks, which you have like 13 practices, 1 bye, and one spring game. So, maybe it's something like that. But the length, I think, is where you're exactly right. The 5 weeks. Dude, if you think about, man, if Georgia were to come off a physical, long, bruising season in January the 20th, and they're going to turn right back around on March the 13th, less than 2 months, and get right back into spring practice, that's not enough time, in my opinion.
Yeah, the one thing that's definitely going away for a lot of teams, it may not go away for all of them, but for a lot of teams, the starting of it as soon as it starts, early March. I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's – if you play like you said, if you play into that 3rd week in January, there is no possible way you're going to be gearing up for spring practice in less than 2 months later. You're 6 weeks away from the start of spring practice. At that point, you got to push it back a full month, I would think, and try to get them started in April. And again,
you can't. Yeah, but you're going to get into finals. You're going to get into if somebody has an injury. The ultimate goal is to get ready for September. So if you're talking about pushing things back, you think about that, because you get into May, there's a 2-week period in May that might be the only 2 weeks of the year those kids get to go home, period. In between finals and coming back.
You hit the nail on the head just now with injuries. Push it back and you get a kid, you padded practices in late April, and you get a kid hurt in late April. It's a much different deal than getting a kid getting a kid hurt in late March and recovery time and those types of things. I mean, again, you get into May, you got early May, you got finals. Yeah, it squeezes some stuff. You're right. I mean, you may be seeing a kind of a situation where there's some OTAs, and they may split up OTAs, and maybe you bring in all the freshmen and sophomores, and you kind of work them and get them some work and kind of let those older guys kind of show them the way a little bit, and then you bring in the whole team entirely together for a couple of weeks to do walkthroughs and maybe a couple of padded practices and really get after it a couple times. But ultimately,
kind of caught me off guard. Listen, I'm not saying it's a done deal, but when you hear it from two different sources, two different circles, that, hey, there's some talk. And the more I thought about it, I thought, damn, that kind of makes a little bit of sense, And, but anyway, for us and where we are in 2024, spring practice is about to start for Georgia this week. And I'm excited about it, excited about some of the new things and some of the wrinkles. And, Georgia is a team right now with a lot coming back, and it starts with that trigger man in Carson Beck.
Well, you wrote a story here recently, 3 things we'd be saying by G-Day, by the time G-Day rolled around. And, I've written about expectations for the team this spring, been doing spring storylines. So, Rusty, I guess, kind of in your mind's eye and kind of how you've kind of thought about this spring and what Georgia needs and where Georgia's areas of improvement are. What's one thing you expect from Georgia this spring? What's one thing that you kind of look at and you're like, I think Georgia will get this done this spring?
Well, if I could send Jake Rowe to every single practice and you could sit there and I would let you have a good pulse of what's going on, I think you would want to know where they are at quarterback depth. Is Gunnar Stockton the number 2 guy clearly? And where's Brian Puglisi at the end of spring? That's always a question. Is Carson Beck were to go down 3 or 4 games, can Gunnar Stockton do it? Or is Ryan Puglisi going to push him a little bit? Where are they at quarterback depth wise? But I think the one thing that I wrote, and the one thing I think I'm getting more confident in, is not having to manufacture so much pressure. And I mean having to create, like bring an extra backer. And Georgia's done a hell of a job, man. Even that Ohio State game, you go back and think about, they brought Smile Munden on, play 3 right there for a sack of C.J. Stroud. And they have to find ways, and great coaches do that. They find ways with the pieces they got. But when I say you don't have to manufacture, I'm talking about a guy coming off the edge that beats the tackle one-on-one in base defense. And that's the ultimate, like, hell yes, that's our dude. We got to have that guy. That's why those people are invaluable. I think there's some depth there. I think there's some young talent there. And I kind of mentioned Damon Wilson. I think Damon Wilson's going to be a guy that's going to take a step there. I think, obviously Chaz Chambliss is going to be in the mix to get an experienced player there. And Chaz is who he is. And he's what you call you called him, I think, right. He's a bowling ball wrecking machine. Like he wipes everything out, pulling guards. I mean, this dude will throw his body in front of anything. But a first down, 1st and 10, and you have a base defense called, and you get an edge pressure and create a negative play, man, that's you don't ask for anything better other than a turnover. And I think that's the one thing Georgia's kind of been missing, is who is that guy that can come in there and just, you go back and talk about Azeez Ojulari and Adam Anderson and all those guys at one point, kind of trickling into Nolan Smith. They always had a guy that would create pressure. And I think that's one thing I'm more confident as I dig around on this, that Georgia's going to be able to find coming out of spring practice. Got a lot of talented guys over there. It's not just Damon Wilson and those guys, but I do think I like what I see out of that. And I still think that Georgia's got some players over there that can help them.
I mean, we knew this time last year that Georgia was probably a year away at that outside linebacker position. They were going to try to make it work, and make it work. They did. That was impressive. I mean, Georgia didn't get a lot of pressure last year, and they had, like you said, they had to manufacture a lot of it. And listen, I know they took a step back. They were still damn good on defense, man.
Yeah, Jalen Walker. I mean, Jalen Walker, that was their guy they'd bring in for pass rush. Moved him
third down guy. Now you got Williams is going to kind of eat up some of those 1st and 2nd down snaps. You hope Damon Wilson can kind of do the same. But you hit on a point there where everybody can kind of put something together with their best athletes on 3rd down. It's just a matter of when you're 1st and 10, if you can get that quick pressure, forcing incompletion, bat a pass down, or better yet, get you a sack, or get you a tackle for loss. Throws everything off. You lose a down. It's better than a penalty. You lose a down, you lose yardage, everything's off schedule. Rusty, I'm also going to go on the defensive side of the ball. Man, the more I think about it, listen, there's a reason Mykel Williams and Warren Brinson came back. They weren't as good as they thought they were going to be or thought they should be in 2023. I think we all need to kind of face that fact. Is like those guys, there were some high expectations. They were stepping into the role after being kind of backups and support guys for the previous 2 years on elite defensive lines. Less so Nazir, because he played nose tackle in 2022, played more snaps than any other Georgia interior defensive lineman, and played much better than I think he did in 2023. Man, contract year for both of those guys.
Yes.
You cannot manufacture what they're feeling right now, which is listen, they ain't no coming back to school next year if it don't work out just right. If we got a chance to make some money, if we got a chance to put ourselves maybe in a first round discussion or a day two, floor, they've got to do it now. But it's more than just those guys for me. We've heard a lot about Gabe Harris. Gabe Harris is a guy that, trending up, doing really well, getting his weight up. That's one thing he's got to do. But the guy in front of him, Tyron Ingram-Dawkins,
yes,
man, him coming back for that Florida game last year, surprised I was that he came back. What a play. I mean, made a massive play in that game. You look at Christian Miller. I was watching the SEC championship game the other day, and one of the plays that popped out to me in that game was that tackle for loss on first down as Alabama was coming down. Georgia was winning 7-0. Alabama's held to a field goal because he had a TFL on first down, like you were talking about a minute ago. Yeah. Jordan Hall flashed a little bit last year. Don't quite know where he fits. Is he going to play some nose this year? Is he going to branch out? Ja Jarrett is another guy. I got a little bit of a nugget on him coming tomorrow from some people that I talked to about him. So I think, I look at this group, I see a ton of talent, and you add outside linebacker into the mix there. If you lump it all together, you lump in better inside linebacker play. Man, I've got high expectations for this front seven going into 2024. And I think you were looking at a better front seven than 2023. And ultimately, the one thing that I don't feel like is being talked about with this team at all, Rusty, is for the first time in a while, this team not on top of the hill coming into the season. This team is not,
Yep.
Kirby Smart's not going to have to study the New Zealand All Blacks this year and all that stuff, because this team did not get to where it wanted to get. And I do wonder how that kind of bleeds over into spring and how this team gets after it because of those things.
Can you imagine ETN and London Humphreys and Michael Jackson and all those guys, their first Georgia practice on Tuesday? They're going to know real quick, so this is how they do things up here. Okay. Yeah. Remember all those recruiting hugs and all those nice talks and all that? That's those days are over, my man. You're a Georgia Bulldog. Congratulations. And buckle your chin straps on for the next 4 or 5 weeks.
It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. There ain't no doubt about it. Well, one thing that's not going to be very difficult is getting guys on campus for Georgia this spring. And Jeremy Johnson brought the news to the website yesterday over to DawgsHQ. Or I guess earlier today, son of T.Y. Hilton, kid named Eugene Hilton out of the Indianapolis area there in Indiana. 6'1", 6'2" guy, looks really good on film. I read somewhere where last spring he ran several times under 11 seconds in the 100 meters. So he runs well, maybe not a burner, but runs well. Yeah, hell of a pedigree there. And his father was recruited by James Coley. Rusty, what do we know about Eugene Hilton as a player and how Georgia feels about it?
Just like you did, I went and watched some tape on him, and definitely the connection from Indianapolis there in Zionsville, little suburb. Our old buddy Steve Wiltfong, who we've worked with a long time. That's where Steve lives. So I saw Steve make a prediction for his network, and I thought, you know what? If that kid lives 5 minutes from me, I better know what's going on too. So when Steve did that, it kind of brought a spark and kind of, had some people check on some things. And, you look at that and there's a connection with James Coley, knowing his father, knowing him. And, it sounds like Georgia's in a really good spot right now. Is something coming, is he like committing today or tomorrow? And not to our knowledge, he's not. But I think Georgia's in a really good spot as of right now. And like I said, Jeremy Johnson followed up on us and done a hell of a job. As all you guys, Tomahawk mentioned there with Jeremy. So, I'm interested in this recruiting because in this wide receiver class, because we've talked about him so many times. The in-state kids are really, really deep this year at wide receiver. So if they go get him, Hilton, to be one of probably 3 or 4 wide receivers you're going to take, I would imagine that is something that staff is very confident in and very on board at this early stage. So they went to Indiana to get Nitro Tuggle last year, right? Correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So and who knows, man? Could be hitting that Hoosier connection there, and we'll see where it goes if they get this guy.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what it is because, I mean, you look at him on film, he makes some contested catches. He shows a little bit of burst. I've always kind of been a fool for those all around receivers. Maybe you're not 6'5", but you're 6'2", and maybe you're not a 4'3" guy, but you're a 4'4", 5" guy or 4'5" guy. You run well, and you do a little bit of everything well. And I like that about this kid. I really do. Almost like in a way, almost like a Reggie Brown type. In a way, even though Reggie was hella fast. It's just I always thought he kind of had an all around game that was always going to do well at Georgia and do well in the NFL, and he did well at both. Apparently, he's going to be on campus on the 14th. Rusty, is there another visit? Before we let these folks go, not a long show tonight, but before we let these folks go, is there another visit coming up this week that you kind of want, you would say, hey, keep an eye on this one?
CJ Wiley, the wide receiver at Alpharetta, is another big time target. And one comment about Reggie Brown, it just blows my mind. State record 24.9 long jumper. And if you know anything about long jumping, 24.9 is stupid.
That's
like
something.
That is freaky. That is explosive as it gets. But 24.9 for Reggie Brown, hell of an athlete. Going to be a big weekend in Athens. Georgia obviously has been off the first 2 weekends of this deal because of spring break and coaches out and about. So again, I don't expect much time off again. And I think we do this. It goes through this every year, the same calendar for Georgia. So you start seeing Clemson have a big weekend. You see Alabama have a big weekend. You see Florida State have a big weekend with recruits. Well, all those schools will start having spring break here soon. And Georgia just has one really early for whatever reason. But you get, Georgia's got their spring break out of the way, and it is pedal to the metal. It's pedal to the metal with spring practice start this week. Big recruiting weekend coming up. A lot of visitors. Georgia will practice on Saturday, so all those recruits will be there to see Georgia practice. About 2 weeks away from a coaching clinic. Kirby Smart to bring like 1,000 high school coaches in for Thursday practice, Friday meetings, Friday night meetings, Saturday morning practice. So that thing is insane amount of high school coaches get to watch 2 practices. So, you always will always have a few guys that get a chance to see some practices there. We'll talk with as well, but
just wait till the phone starts going off. Wait till it start cross-referencing information. It's one of the funnest times of the year, honestly. It's kind of underrated.
Yeah, especially that Saturday, because I think that's 2 Saturdays from now, and I think that's really might be the first padded practice.
They don't scrimmage the first 2 Saturdays of preseason camp.
Yeah.
Of spring camp. They don't. Those first 2 Saturdays are kind of the first Saturday is the first padded practice.
Yeah. Well, they get after in front of those high school coaches at least.
And it's almost like that first Saturday is the first padded practice. Like so a week from yesterday, they'll put the pads on for the first time. There's a 2 practice acclimation period, and it's almost like clockwork. Every Sunday, you end up chasing an injury, something. Somebody's got a collarbone. Somebody, broke an ankle or a foot or something. You are chasing that on that first, Sunday. A week from today, we'll probably be chasing an injury because they'll have put on pads at practice.
Well, somebody have a bump or bruise, but hopefully no ankles, hopefully no foot injuries. And the foot injuries have been the biggest damn deal, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, no doubt, and I'm excited about it, man. You know, really just to get everything kicked back up at once. You know, and we'll get a chance to. I'm excited to see practice because we don't see it during the fall.
No,
We see it during preseason camp for a little bit, but it gets less and less as preseason camp goes on. And I've never been one to complain about that. I mean, you do what you do, right?
that's
You
right.
do
Yep.
you do what you got to do. If you feel like it's listen, you know more about running that program than I do. You always will. So, you know, cut us out of practice if you want to. But the spring, I love seeing every single thing they let us see during the spring because I just like getting out there and watching ball and watching those guys coach.
Do me a favor on when y'all get Kirby Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Why don't you ask Kirby, just out of curiosity, since Alabama opened up practice to media, if he's going to open up? Why don't you just ask him that in front of everybody and see what he says? Say that's from Roos. Say Roos wants to know. Hey, Jake Roos is not here, but he wants to know. He wants to know if y'all going to open up practice. And so since Alabama's opened it up, what you guys going to open up practice so we can see a little more?
Hey, Palmer will be there, and I'll just say, hey, Palmer, didn't you want to ask Kirby since Alabama opened up? Just ask Palmer in front of Kirby. See what he says.
That? It was so weird seeing video from Alabama practice.
Yeah, it was
because you haven't seen it in 20 years.
Yeah,
basically, you know, I was like, damn, they really do put on pads and practice, but you've never seen Alabama practice. So that was, I know those guys.
Imagine Nick Saban coming up to Kalen DeBoer's office after that practice, knocking on the door and be like, "Hey, all right, that ain't the way you do it."
Yeah, cut that out.
That ain't the way you do it. I'm telling you, that ain't way.
Man,
Alabama don't win a national championship. They let media watch practice. But hey, I do enjoy it. You know, Kirby normally will give us about 20, 25 minutes on that first day. We'll get some photos. We'll get to see what number the newcomers are wearing. You know, get to see that kind of stuff and have all that for you. And I mean, I will say this. I ain't good at a lot of stuff. All right. I'm bad at most things, but nobody's going to whip our ass on a practice report. Okay.
Nah.
We put together the best practice reports in the business. Me and my man Palmer do. And so if you guys want to come over and check out those practice reports, y'all come on over to DawgsHQ. You're going to want to be there tomorrow morning. Get up bright and early. We got some stuff coming.
Get your coffee and get you ready. Get you a good read coming in tomorrow morning. So I've already seen about half.
Maybe if it's supposed to get cold tonight, it's supposed to dip down almost to freezing a little bit. So if you're one of those folks that don't turn the heat on like us at our house, get your little warm blanket ready. Curl up at about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and get ready for the info to drop. And we got some good reading for you coming in the morning over at Dawgs.
Only in Georgia with a low 29 tomorrow and a high of 82 on Thursday.
Yeah, it's time for it's getting time. So I don't think we've hit second winter yet. So second winter is probably coming here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then you can brace for maybe third winter. That's just
Thursday will be that fall spring.
Yep. Fall spring, 77, 78 degrees. It'll probably get up to 80.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to be. All right, y'all. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you later on. We'll be back with you Tuesday evening after Georgia holds its first spring practice. Bark After Dark tomorrow. Phillip Dukes, Vaughn 3, going to join us, talk about his story and what he's been up to. Really excited about that one. So join us tomorrow night at 8:30 for that. But for this episode of the Georgia Show, y'all take it easy.